I'm assuming staff doesn't need any introductions.
Yeah, no,
I pester them all plenty, but, yeah, I've interviewed most board members at this point, not everyone, but.
Yeah.
So
And we were.
welcome, thank you.
Thank you. So, we're gonna take a look back at the communications and marketing, accomplishments since, mid-July, and then we're also gonna look ahead as to what our goals are, for the upcoming fiscal year. So, when we spoke last in Fairleigh, one of the goals that we had was to, start a newsletter. At the time, we thought it might be quarterly. We weren't sure how much content we were gonna have. But we've had plenty. So, we started, monthly newsletters, in November. We send them the most recent, to about 700 addresses. And it includes a whole smattering of things from, closings to stories about borrowers, events. There's always a message from Joan off the top. And we featured, many of you, in the Meet the Board profile, which is at the, end. So thank you, everybody. You're gonna get to know more about Rhonda in a couple of days. One more reason to open your email. Okay, let's see. Oh, electronic surveys. Yeah, so in the interest of our continuous improvement, we have issued 3 different surveys. Back in February, we sent a partner survey to about 285 partners. A borrower survey to 317 was also sent out in February. We didn't get a really strong response rate, so per Joan's request, we've instituted a new borrower survey. So try to get people closer to closing, sending them a how do we do? It's a shorter survey, and so that's a new effort that we have just started. Social media. So this looks at social media metrics from mid-July to mid-May. We're on 2 platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn. So Facebook, we've added 79 followers during this time frame. Our monthly views from a low of 1,900 back in July of last year to a high of over 12,000 in May. That month, May also saw our highest engagement. And we attribute that to, because typically our monthly views are in the 4,000 to 6,000 range, but we hit that high of 12,000 in May because the first week we did a hit each day in conjunction with small business, SBA Small Business Week. So that's what that high view engagement rate is tied to.
I'm surprised you didn't get more followers off that. When you see it go up to 12,000.
Yeah, we definitely get more traction on LinkedIn, just in general. We really, really do. So LinkedIn, we went from as far as followers, we've added 340 during the same time frame. Our monthly impressions from last July were over 2,400. To May, it was 7,400. Our highest was in January at over 8,000, and that was directly tied to the announcement that Sandy, our new Chief Lending Officer, we're very excited about that.
she drove the traffic.
She drove.
That's what's mentioned.
That's right.
And the same is true for the Rangers. Borrower stories. We spent some time again last year talking about characters and storytelling and how that's an effective method to reach the public and potential borrowers, connect with people. The woman you see here, her name is Danielle Rabidou, and she has a company called the Better Box. She's a Stowe mom who has twin 5-year-olds, and she said they would be out and about, and she want to get them a snack and would encounter nothing that she really wanted to feed her kids. She's like, there are better options out there. So her Better Boxes are full of things that have you're not going to find any dyes or artificial sweeteners, organic products, etc. So she is one of our borrowers, and we featured her in one of our borrower stories this year. We also featured a restaurant in St. Albans, Mill River Brewing Barbecue and Smokehouse, Speaking Volumes, which was an established Burlington business that set up shop now in Randolph as well. Douglas Sweets, which is, they make shortbread. And Shelburne, everything. And Purpose Energy, we featured their Middlebury facility, but we've actually helped them with 3 of their facilities. And then advertising. So in mid-July, when I started, we were advertising, but we really kind of put a pause for the most part on our paid advertising. We really wanted to get a sense of what we did that and didn't start advertising in earnest again until January. And so with renewed focus on 4 audiences, really: commercial businesses, agricultural operations, Franklin County, and policymakers. So why Franklin County? We looked at our
We've been separated from the meeting. Hold on.
okay.
There was a cliffhanger too.
Yeah, it's a clip. Why Franklin County?
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
I'm gonna leave and come back.
And just focus on Franklin County, either Facebook or LinkedIn, and so now you have a new one on each.
There you go.
We're back on.
I don't know where I
recording
wasn't
and-
following.
Okay, we're back on. Excellent. Why Franklin
Okay,
County?
so yeah, the why Franklin County? Okay, I'll tell you why. So why Franklin? Why? So we looked at our FY25 data at year end, and when it came to loans, we invested just $7 per capita in Franklin County. The only county that was lower was Grand Isle, which was 0. But we figured Franklin County, there was more fertile ground there. When it comes to agriculture. Franklin County is second only to Addison County when it comes to the number of farms and the acres devoted to farmland. So we figured there's definitely some, room to grow there. I know commercially, Franklin County has really struggled in the last month or so, but certainly there's some opportunity there as well. So that was the rationale. Renee, next slide. So commercial advertising. This is a look at where we've been, which outlets we've been using to target commercial business. So Vermont Public, we sponsor Marketplace and the Marketplace Morning Report on Wednesdays. And that's a year-long commitment. So that's a calendar year. So that will take us through December. Digger, we sponsor the economy section for 6 months, January to June. That included 2 advertorials that I wrote, one about Purpose Energy and the other about Douglas Sweets. Vermont Business Magazine, we have really been kind of taking it a month at a time. Is that issue tied to, someone we're trying to reach, it really kind of depends on what their content is. So that's not a contract really so much as kind of a pay as you go. And then where am I here? Oh, VMT, Morning Drive, we're sponsoring commercial to target commercial. And then also Green Energy Times. This is a quarterly that targets businesses, farms, nonprofits interested in green energy. So agroforestry. We've been advertising in Northern Logger and Timber Processor Magazine. This is a monthly, it's an industry publication targeting loggers and sawmills. Northern Woodlands is a quarterly that promotes forest stewardship. WOKO, we're doing a weather sponsor there in the morning. And BMT, again, that morning drive. And the Newport Daily Express, we had a 3-month buy there. They actually have an ag section that they publish on Thursdays. And then back to Franklin County, crossover here with OKO and BMT, but also the St. Albans Messenger. We did a 3-month buy there, which included an advertorial. We did a feature with Tim Smith from FCIDC for them. Oh, and also incidentally, we also sponsored the Vermont Maple Festival this year. And we're present at an CDL open house, which is an organization that sells, or a business rather, that sells equipment to sugars. And then policymakers, we were targeting them again with Digger, that buy, that January through June buy, and then Vermont Public. So advertising spending, again, this is just paid advertising. This doesn't include sponsorships or conference fees or any of the other things, or the Juniper costs that we used to have. This is just paid advertising. And so
Just describe the bars, because from back.
Yeah.
I can't see.
the top bar is FY25. We spent just over 71,000 on paid in FY25. FY26, we spent just over, well, just shy of 32,000, but again, the bulk of that was spent in the second half of the fiscal year. So we did not do much advertising that first half. And then the budget is the bottom bar that you see there. FY27, we're estimating 58.5 for spend. So we're still estimating that we're going to spend less this coming fiscal year than we did in FY25. Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Are you able to, or are you tracking the leads that come through the advertising? Like, are you able to tie that to?
We are trying to with our, when we're closing. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
okay.
I have referrals.
Yeah.
But that was January 1st, I think.
Yeah, January 1st, I
Yeah.
added it to the write-up so it could get put into Norchurch.
So we'll have some.
Yeah,
But it's
perfect.
early.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh, press releases. So we've sent out some press releases since July. The most recent being one that announced the housing and CPACE legislations or bills that passed and the governor signed. We started issuing press releases with the end of the third quarter on our quarterly results. We're going to have one coming out on the fourth quarter on July 1st. Low impact logging initiative. That's that reduced rate thanks to money from FPR. That we issued a press release on that. Disaster Recovery Loan Fund, we've issued 2, one on when the fund launched, and then another when it started to accept drought applications. And then we issued a press release at the end, I guess probably would have been October 31st, right after the annual meeting, announcing the annual meeting and the release of our annual report and the findings of that. Where are we? Oh, FY27. Okay. So to support our VEDA's goals of adding 80 new borrower relationships and work with 6 new financial institutions, we are instituting these regional funding forums, which are mentioned in the strategic plan. We're working with partners to get these off the ground. So far, we've participated in 2 that others have organized. What you see here is Young at the BDCC event. And then Lisa participated in one in Addison County. And then we're in talks with NBDA and with Sarah at Cedar to add some more. And then Franklin County and Vermont Economic Development Corporation will host events in the fall. So those will be, involve commercial lenders and if potentially agricultural lenders from us, but there'll also be other lending institutions, perhaps FSA, other partners at SBDC, who can all talk about, various opportunities. More borrower stories. Certainly it's my goal to tag along, at least once a month on a site visit, to get more borrower stories in the pipeline. We're gonna make our advertising spend decisions based on our year-end data. And then, we're gonna be updating some of our marketing materials. Some of this has already happened, but there's gonna be a lot more of it in the upcoming year. Banners, signs, et cetera, to raise our profile, educate potential borrowers. And then a big project will be a website redesign. We are our contract right now with our current provider expires in February. But certainly we're starting to consider, what do we want this website to look like? And a lot of it is going to be paring it down and making it more accessible and just more streamlined for potential borrowers and current borrowers.
For borrowers, AI agents. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the design is changing so that your agents find it better.
Yeah, which is very important. Yeah. People search and find us.
Questions?
Yeah, I've got a comment. Tom in a recent meeting mentioned how VEDA's been at a lot more meetings around, whether it's Joan or other staff members. Can you compare the results of those kind of meetings to advertising? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You go to a networking event, you get a piece of information that ends up being valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very direct kind of relationship and you could see it firsthand. Advertising is a little harder, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's impossible. but-
I
Yeah.
think they're both pretty hard. It's all about like just creating awareness so that when someone hears about you the third time,
Or you might meet somebody else. but
they heard about you on VPR, they saw you at a conference.
I'm not suggesting we change anything.
Right.
You're
You're just saying, like, how do you compare it? Yeah,
Getting results from it.
yeah. Showing up is key.
As a combination of all of
Yeah.
it, we're getting results. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's the combination.
And you never looked at advertising in 7 days, or is that not appropriate?
7 days, I haven't looked at, no, I haven't looked at 7 days.
That's good.
I mean, they have an
It's-
annual money issue, so it might be a targeted thing.
Right.
Trying to,
Right.
I know, I see 7 days everywhere I go.
Yeah,
Right.
we were very selective this year.
Yeah.
And like the Addison Independent has the ag section where they give them results for housing.
And they'll have a field day section pretty quick.
Oh, right.
Right.
When it comes to advertising, ROI is very difficult to measure. But you can see you can estimate incremental growth as a result of it. But my question is, as far as social media is concerned, do you create information that the RDCs can post on their own websites or social media sites? Because what we've done, or what I've done in previous roles, is actually develop the content and say, okay, all you need to do is post this.
Share it.
And you get 12 or 10, 12 RDCs, and I'm guessing they each have a pretty strong local following. And if it's a business focus on somebody in Springfield, Bob Flint's gonna push that out.
Right.
I mean, somebody in Franklin County may not care, so you use evergreen content, but if you can hand deliver some of that information to them, that's easy, right? And I'm sure they'd be willing.
Yeah.
I'm sure most would be willing to provide you some information.
Yeah, what do we, at the state, we had this thing called the Vermont Ambassadors, and it was like that. You could send out something to somebody and then it made it easier to share to their networks. I forgot, there was a provider who did it and I'm blanking on who that is, but it makes it simple.
Yeah, but you think they would want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to estimate what they want, but
They all want something different.
So maybe it's.
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but in the past, if there's like a targeted
loan program that we have, like MBDA, we
Yeah.
had a Lowercase Kingdom program. We would share that with them and then, the MBDA would put that in the newsletter going out to their members and customers and things like that. So I think it's good to have a kind of VEDA section, what's happening, even though we're sending out the newsletter to everybody on our mailing list, it might be good to just send that out directly to the ED at the RDC so that they can pick and choose they can use it for their own newsletter.
Some of them copy it directly. I think I saw it.
Right.
Somebody else's, that they just took it and forwarded it. We're good with that.
What about financial institutions? Like, have you tried to get on their websites under the business lending section or anything like that?
Ask them if we could do a post on there.
Or they would share the post or something like that.
Yeah, we could do that.
They have a big network too.
Oh, I was just curious, what else is getting attention besides Sandy?
What are you seeing that people are responding to? People definitely are responding to a business news. Yeah,
That Weidman Grand opening got a lot of.
Yeah.
yeah,
Trucks.
yeah.
They did that thing out of the park. It was like
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
a production, yeah.
Aerialists and everything.
Yeah, but it was great.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Good job. Ria. And next up is Sandy.
You can go to the next one. A lot of what I'm going to say has kind of been touched on in various pieces of other people's presentations thus far, but kind of pulling it together as it relates to the lending department and our goal to hit the 2027 budget that you see here in yellow line for loan volume. Next. So how are we going to do that? We've got a big growth goal there. We are looking to improve our partner networks. We plan to do 3 lending panels or roundtables per quarter. We are looking to engage with trade associations and bankers, ideally once a month, expand our new referral network by 6 different referral sources that we haven't used in a while or used ever, as the case may be, and expand our borrowing relationships by 80 new borrowers. As Joan mentioned earlier, we've been doing somewhere around 60 to 70 a year over the past few years on average. So this is, we think, achievable, but will be a reach. Next slide. This is an ad from an online roundtable that Lisa Rollins did for Addison County Economic Development Corp. In this case, it was a online roundtable focused on small business lending in the different alternative lenders in the area, including VEDA. Young, of course, did the BDCC one, and we've got other lending roundtables in the works. We've been very active at various trade associations, the VBA meetings, the RMA meetings, onward and onward. Next. We're also looking at new lending initiatives. Housing is one where we have the ability now that it's signed to do housing developments of 5 units or more, so that we're in the commercial space and not in the more single family residential space. These could be apartment buildings, they could be single family developments. We would be working on these deals when we're brought in by a bank and where we're focusing on market rate housing. The low income housing DHFA focuses on, and we're not looking to compete directly with them in that space. We also heard earlier today about the CHIP program. We're looking at ways to lend in that program for the infrastructure pieces. We've had a number of meetings recently with developers and bankers, some town officials, looking at how to put a lending program together, where we would lend to the developer directly so that they could put the infrastructure in place and get the repayment through that, the tax increment. Thank you. I kept wanting to say infrastructure. Yes, there are a lot of acronyms. Those have been some great meetings. We've made some great headway. Although with my conversation with Jessica just today at lunch, I've got to go back and relook at some things, and you know, we're certainly not nailed down yet. Next slide. We're also looking to bring in some energy loans through our RESP financing. Should we get that closed? We are near closing.
Actually, on the administrator's desk.
For how many months now?
Only been 3 years.
3 years, that's right.
This is, RESP is USDA.
The board's voted on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for others that may not have been here.
Do we get any inquiries from the battery storage folks?
No,
I know it's a big one, Brandon asked the guy that's kind of got next, but
not typically. I've had some general conversations with battery storage. Those typically come with their own financing. They're relatively large projects and, yeah.
And the Vernon folks,
Oh, yeah, I haven't got calls.
So how is this goal going to be impacted by changes in the tax laws?
Right, so, I mean, tax laws are never good. This. I shouldn't say.
The goal, that would be the funding amount, once we get the funding.
Right, but-
6 million is the goal.
I understand the funding amount, but the funding, people may not want to do the funding.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
So there's a few things that, you know, again, the REST funding, a lot of those tax credits don't expire until 12/31/2027. So we're actually seeing, even in straight solar activity, we're seeing, it was a lull for a while and now we're seeing some pickup. We don't expect it to be long-term, but we think the next 12 months will be fairly good. Secondly, the REST funding, that's a much more broader source of funding. So it's not what you've typically seen with VEDA, which is these standalone solar fields that Rhonda gives me crap about every time. You know, it's much broader than that. It can be used for anything that basically saves a business owner. In fact, the standalone solar fields can't typically be used for REST. This is for businesses to meet their either energy needs or efficiency needs. So even things like that you wouldn't associate with clean energy, like fuel switching, upgrading your oil furnace to a propane furnace, that would work. So we could see, you know, once the money comes in the door, we could actually see it go relatively quickly because we haven't really gone after that market.
And it could be a source for CPACE, right?
It could be. A lot of times CPACE tends to be 20, 30-year projects, and REST does have that caveat because of the way it's structured. USD has to be maximum of 10-year loan, fully amortizing, but yes, it could possibly fit that.
So you don't necessarily think you'll have to reset this goal next year based on externalities like the tax law?
Oh, well, next year, it might be less than 6
It might be less, right?
Okay, thank you.
We take a look at those goals
And
every year. But we're hopeful we'll get this 10 million funding source.
she says
this
it's a
year.
funding source. The goal is 6 million
The
this
goal.
year. Very comfortable.
Next. So we're also looking, as we heard earlier today, at VC-backed enterprise debt to those. We're in the early stages. We need to put together a policy, decide where we want to lend. You know, as Karin was mentioning, his view of the venture debt, the mezzanine, or the revenues-based financing, where in that realm we want to be to, you know, kind of balance providing capital to those companies that need it, but without undue risk to VEDA. So we're early stages in that, looking into trying to put those policies together, figure out how we want to do it. But like, we've got one company that we recently had a conversation with that I think is going to send, I believe is going to send in an application to give us a chance to take a look at a live one to help inform those decisions and conversations internally.
Nice graphic.
Thank you. All my graphics are AI.
I love this one.
This one looks AI. So we've also are looking at some new affiliate loan programs. We are in the process of signing MOU with A&R to put together an underground storage tank replacement loan program. This is primarily for gas stations who need to replace the underground storage tanks because they're old and we don't want gasoline to seep into the soil. So in that case, we would do strictly the underwriting for them. They would approve and book on their own system, but we would underwrite and then provide loan documentation.
Is this a new program?
It is, it is.
Because A&R has one for tanks that leak.
This,
Yeah.
actually, it's an existing program for A&R. It's new for us to be servicing it. They worked with Opportunities Credit Union in the past.
So this is a straight replacement. It doesn't have to be failing. It does, it's old, it needs to go.
That is my general understanding. The way that the program works is that you first reach out to A&R. They qualify it. They say, yes, you meet the qualifications of this program, and then VEDA underwrite it. So I don't want to speak out of turn on the technicalities, but it is for older gas station tanks that I don't think they strictly need to have failed already, but
Okay.
I think they're trying to avoid it.
The one, there's all kinds of new criteria.
Yeah.
There's environmental, then there's liability insurance.
Yeah.
Is this, I mean, is the benefit of this, does A&R provide grants that are coupled with a low interest loan, or like, what is the over traditional financing for this? Do you know what the entry is for this?
Yeah, A&R provides low interest financing, loans up to 150. It is, I'm trying to remember the rates off the top of my head. It's like a 2% if they own under 5 locations,
Yeah.
gas station
Yeah.
locations. I think it's 2% in that case. And if they own more than 5, then it's maybe 5%.
Right.
When Matt came to see us about this, he did have one that, like, I guess it's a defunct station. It's in violation, it's leaking. So like there are some, the prioritization of this are the ones that are in violation,
Yeah.
and that A&R wants to help them finish with this funding because it's a
Yeah.
hazard to human health.
Are we just doing the lending on this? I mean, the underwriting?
We're doing the underwriting and the documentation,
But not the service.
but not the servicing. We'll do underwriting of OB amendments, but we won't be, it's not on our system. It's on their loan system and they do the servicing and the bill pay, and all that.
I'm excited about these too, because we've had some who found the funds that couldn't afford to replace their tanks, and now we have these gas tests. So this is a great.
Yes.
In our state.
So this will be a source of fee income for us. That being said, we just recently underwrote one earlier this year, but Matt doesn't think that there'll be tons of volume on a regular basis. It'll be splotchy. We also just won an RFP with Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission to help put together and manage their revolving loan fund program. And CVRPC, Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, has also requested that we take a look at an RFP for their similar brownfield revolving loan program.
Will that work the same way our relationship does with the agencies? Probably.
Similar, but not necessarily exactly the same way, but similar, yeah, way of doing it. And we had a one-time setup fee in our RFP, and then ongoing servicing fee, and the closing and the underwriting. So,
And it will be similar in that they will pre-qualify for proper use of funds and send it to us after for the underwriting. And in this one, service it, I believe, right?
Well,
Service it. Yeah.
Again, this is a low volume. We don't expect a lot of activities. It is 1 million total and then 500,000 is allocated for the loan. And so each RPC has to come up with their own policies and programs and where they want to use those loan funds. And then they're also setting aside about 350,000 towards the grants. And the rest of it is about 150,000 is for the set aside for the administration cost. So again, it's, we put it in the RPC, in the RFP because we know how to do the brownfield loan for revolving loan fund for the ANR, ACCD, but we don't, again, expect a lot of volume from this.
But it will be a source of fee income.
Yes.
On our affiliate program side as well.
Do you know if you have to replace the tanks or, because we have cases where, there was a general store that sold gas and now the gas tanks sit there and can they just get rid of them?
Oh,
Remove them?
I don't know. I don't know.
ANR.
That's a question for ANR. Yeah.
I think this is a replacement.
This
not
one
a
says
removal.
replacement.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote replacement.
Oh,
But because that's what I was thinking about, but you know, the technicality of that, I don't know the answer to that.
Sometimes the underground tanks are part of a remediation plan for a brownfield, so it might go under a different pot of money, but yeah.
So as we take a look at the initiatives on loan growth, we're also looking to maintain discounts that are manageable by VEDA. So in the past, you know, back a couple of years, we had a SSBCI that Thad talked about a little earlier, where pretty much every loan did a 1% to 2% discount, you know, for those couple of years. And then when we came out of SSBCI, we wanted to maintain some level of discount. We put together the economic development score, or ED score is what we refer to it internally. That we had ED scores historically, you know, prior to all of this on the commercial side, but not on the ag side. And on the commercial side, it was like 3 factors in the past. And when we came out of SSBCI, we put together a ED qualifying worksheet that had over 20 qualifiers. And it was pretty much all of the state directed or directives pulled out of statute. It was a little confusing and complicated, and it allowed for discounts from as low as 0.5% to as much as 3%, and probably 1.5% to 2% is what we saw on a regular basis. Next. So going forward, we have really streamlined the way that we look at ED pricing. We will now have 4 qualifiers, and we will get the loans will get a 1% discount if they meet any one or even multiple. So it's a single 1%. It's not a stacking 1%. So it's for businesses that are in the agriculture and forestry industries, manufacturers, energy, or housing. And we chose those as those are industries where we'd like to see loan growth. Questions?
Thanks, folks. Yes,
Any consideration to geographic considerations
That's it, Kevin.
for economically challenged areas, more rural areas in the discount?
We didn't this time, but good idea.
Kind of in line with Dave's
Yeah.
comments earlier.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I'm curious, with BORAC spending kind of coming to an end, you're seeing any requests in the recreation area for loans? So BORAC was about the outdoor recreation collaborative. There was a lot of funding that was circulating, and now it's
Yeah, there, a few months back, there was one particular recreation project that we heard from a number of lenders and a potential borrower. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but that kind of fell by the wayside. Beyond that, no, we really haven't.
We've seen like hospitality adjacent, where a lot of the
Yes.
hospitality, is emphasizing its, proximity to outdoor recreational opportunities.
Yeah, and most of Warwick funding was to communities for like marketing and like economic development in the sense of promotion and trail building. This year in the governor's budget, we have $200,000. 2 years ago, we gave away $11,000. So that will increase in funding. And I was thinking the same thing when you put up the list, like recreation could be a consideration for the future.
Yep.
But I don't anticipate we're gonna have that. kind of-
Yep. And I expect with the ED score discounts that we'll take a look at that on a regular basis, likely annually.
Could you go back to that? pie
If
chart?
not,
So,
and reset it based on what we're looking at.
hard to read from here, but I think the orange. Is that?
Travel.
So I think of outdoor rec is included in there. I mean, I could be wrong. It's probably
It would
not
be.
municipalities, but all the hospitality is in there. And so, question is, do we really need to incent it with a cheaper rate? Like, probably not. Like, the small inns will probably still come to us. It's just a way of kind of managing exposure, emphasizing those we want to grow and not necessarily giving discounts on the hospitality.
The items that we've given the qualification to, in general, are the smaller wedges in that pie chart.
So every ag loan is going to get a 1% discount.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Ag has a 31% of the pie chart.
That's loans are existing.
At the risk of alienating Sam even further. With all of the tax credits available to energy, they really need a discount. With all of the tax credits that energy gets.
Well, they don't get them anymore, right?
Well, the tax credits they are going away, and energy projects that worked all day long at, 4% when our rates were that low, just don't work at 7%. Plus, there is also the fact that we expect a lot of the energy loans to, fall under RES, which is a, 0 cost percent money, just in that case would fall out of this whole ED metrics anyway.
Yeah, actually, we should
So
say
those
that.
would be priced different.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, like for example, on housing, if we end up getting some of the LIAC money, then,
It would be
we
an
might see
exception.
less of more of a discount rather.
Yeah.
And if we do any chip financing, that's not under housing discount. It will be just the regular.
Just regular pricing.
Unless it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it gets LIAC, right?
That's bring my checkbook.
Other questions?
I'll just make a quick recommendation. If you are interested in recreation businesses, the Vermont Outdoor Business Alliance would probably be a good organization to bring in to say really on the quarterback to that.
We attend that conference.
We
every
attended,
year.
I think we present, I think Pete presented in the
Yeah, we
past,
did.
yeah,
Yep. When I was at Bergen.
yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else? Sandy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Jennifer?
You're gonna say last but not least.
I'm really happy lift because
We're saving the exciting topics for last.
From sunshine and cocktails.
As
Oh,
general
no,
security
no,
alert.
That's really. Well, just like Sandy said, when she said, we've touched on a lot of this already, I feel like we've gone over almost all of this already, but now that Danny's here, I can do it again. I have a catch you up on what you've missed so far. So, last year I gave a presentation on why we want to consolidate the entities. And so this is just a little refresher of
where we came from. There's only 2 slides that repeat from last year, but just to make sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of how long VEDA's been around. What we did primarily was VEDA. It was a lot of bond work, VEDA with an I.
What was the I?
Industrial, yeah, and it was a lot of bond work in the beginning. And the statute, I mean, we've been around for 50 years, and the statute does say right in there that we can set up nonprofit corporations to enact anything that meets within the parameters of our economic development statute. So we talked about that a little earlier, like what could we do if we wanted to form a special purpose vehicle or other entities to work on land bank projects. We already have the authority to do that, but we're trying to streamline how we work with the statute, how the statute works with us. And we've been working on that in the last few years. We have those, you go to the next slide. We have all these entities. That's just a timeline from last time of when we started doing certain kinds of work and what, when the corporations were formed. And as you can see, VAC wasn't formed until 1999, but if you look back in the 80s, we had the family farm program, we had other farm programs. We've always done some agricultural work and some other kinds of projects from, well, I guess the 60s before we were even VEDA. So anyway, next slide. So what did we do this year? The big one that we talked about earlier, and it was in a press release, it says VEDA can do housing. And it's not exactly that. This, nobody ever wants to watch laws or sausages being made, and that's the sausage right there. That's what we ended up with. We were looking at trying to enable VEDA to do some housing, but we don't want to step on anybody's toes, and certainly not VHFA. But originally, when we tried last year, if you recall, we made tons of changes to our statute. And the only reason why we got into the legislature to begin with is because we were asked, how can you do housing? How can you get involved in housing? We need additive solutions for housing. And the session before, we got everything we wanted except the housing got thrown out at the last minute because of that sort of that not attention, but there's a lot of people playing in the housing space, and we don't want to step on anybody's toes. So we went back and forth several times. The way this is structured now is kind of, if you remember 3 years ago when we went to the legislature, we added assisted living facilities. And the way we added that was said, okay, we have these certain kinds of projects we can fund, and it says right at the top, no housing. And then there's, except you can do housing if it's assisted living facilities. And that was not hard fought, but it was well negotiated, and that's what we got a few years ago. Then the next year, no housing, but a lot of changes to our statute. This year, housing, but we went back and forth. So I have another slide that sort of summarizes that, but that's the exact language that's in the statute right now. And what it basically says is that we can finance commercial housing, 5 units or more, if it's requested by and financed with another lender. So not only do we not want to step on VHFA's toes, we don't want to step on any of our banking partners' toes, and we're not in there to compete with banks. We want to be additive. Again, this is a way to be an additive solution to the housing crisis. So we have to be asked in by a bank or another financer, and we have to jointly finance with them. Now, we said earlier, we like participations. They're really easy. We prefer it, but it doesn't mean it has to be. It just means jointly finance with another lender on a commercial property. And originally it just said, and not anything that VHFA wants, because it does say VHFA has deference, and then where does it go? And we sort of went back and forth on that too. And we added in sort of the last iteration of all the negotiations was not for portions or phases of a development that VHFA is in, because there are so many, there's the infrastructure, there's developments with 2 towers, there's all these other portions or phases of a project that VHFA could really want to play a part in, part of it for low-income housing or even moderate, but that we still want to be involved in. We can be an additive solution for market rate housing or for infrastructure or anything like that. So, sorry, if you go back just one slide, the specific negotiated language was, okay, we can do it, but not if VHFA is in it, or if it's low-income housing. So those are those 2I and 2 little I, little double I, yeah. So anyway, okay, you go forward again. So that was, it actually was signed. When I made the slide, it was on his desk. It was signed a couple days later. And we did, Christine did a great press release sending it out saying, VEDA can do housing now. So that is official. And like we discussed, we've had many meetings about CHIP and we've had meetings about how we could get involved. I know Sandy's actively meeting with partners. How do you do commercial housing then that could involve us and where could we, like Young mentioned, maybe it's that 85, the 75 to 85 space, maybe it's infrastructure, but that's what we're still gonna try to get into as the year goes on. So the other big work was in the ag field. We were in the miscellaneous agricultural subjects bill, which had a lot of other stuff. So I sat through quite a few sessions where I was like, what are they talking about? Didn't involve us at all. It was a lot of stuff that involved a bit more negotiation than we needed. There was a milk product section, a pesticide section, hemp products, property taxes, all sorts of things that were hard fought, but there was no controversy with our additions. And thanks to Allison, who brought us in right in the beginning to meet with both the reps from the House and the Senate. It kind of had, there were sort of two, and they had the same kind of language, branching out to say, how do we get our language? What did we ask for? Well, it's what we talked about last year. Why do we have the Vermont Agricultural Credit Corporation as a separate corporation when all the work is essentially the same? We actually have an intercompany memos, we have intercompany accountings, we pay the same employees to do the same work for two different corporations. And it's a lot of extra work on our part when we don't need a separate corporation to do that. The only reason is all the enabling legislation was in 16A. You can go to the next one. It was in Title 16, it was section 16A, sorry. And now we're in subsection 16. It's confusing. I don't know how we ended up with 16s for both, but that's what we got. So we took the entire section, Title 16A, which was the Vermont Agricultural Credit Corporation, moved it into VEDA. Now it's subsection 16 of VEDA. And the way we can make it work is if you look at VEDA's statute, there's just where we added the housing, this long list, why housing was added as U. That's a long list, right? So we start alphabetically from U. Eligible projects. And it says not housing except for this. And it also has a lot of detail on what kinds of things we can do. So the easiest way to move this into VEDA was to say those definitions don't apply to the new section 16. So this new section 16 is exactly the same, pretty much. It takes that statute, puts it right into VEDA. Couple tiny changes. There was a definition of what farm animals are, and it didn't say including, it just had a list. And I did Really specific. yes, very, you couldn't do shrimp because shrimp wasn't on the list, but I did learn that a rat type was like an ostrich or an emu, you know, it was a very specific list. So we added the word including. Yeah.
Make sure we cover all of them.
Yeah.
But you didn't cover it all, no rat types.
No rat types.
In Chittenden County.
Oh, you can't have rat types in Chittenden County?
That was a conversation, make sure it's roosters,
Yeah.
but we had to take care of the pigs in Orleans, it was really.
Well, if the ostriches get out, that's like a whole, that's a public safety hazard.
It's a big conversation.
So, and the other big change, which is sort of meaningless when you think about how we moved the statute in, there was a reference, the jobs fund that we use to sort of fund all our projects had a limit of $100 million that goes to VAC. Now, we've never used it, but why are we even referring to VAC as a separate thing now? So we got rid of the references and the limits in the jobs fund specifically to VAC, because there will be no VAC. It's a Vermont Agricultural Credit Program, not Vermont Agricultural Credit Corporation. And then the last thing we added was the power to dissolve that in our own time under the statute and how we can do it. So the next slide is what we need to do. Not that exciting for everyone. It's all internal. Again, this was signed even though it was on his desk when I prepared this. Apologies. it's more notice to the borrowers because we can do an internal assumption, a mass-like assumption assignment agreement. But we've got to do a lot of internal accounting and changing to how we pay our employees back and forth, or how we borrow money from CoBank to make sure they're okay, that it's VEDA and not VAC. And FSA too, we've been in discussion with them, telling them, it's the same, it's just not the Vermont Agricultural Credit Corporation. So, and then the next phase will be our policies, make sure there's no references to the corporation and just the program. And that we've been working on branding that for a few years, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise to borrowers. And it actually eliminates some confusion. I know last year we talked about it. There's a VAC sale, they want to pay off, they get a payoff, and it's VEDA letterhead, and it says VEDA. And you get a call, they're like, why are we paying VEDA? What is this? The mortgage says VAC. And so it's gonna eliminate some of that confusion too. And they've already sort of headed down that path to our ag borrowers thinking of us as VEDA. So it shouldn't be a heavy lift. Thanks. So the other stuff we talked about earlier today, just that was in the 2026 legislative session, CPACE was signed. And as Joan mentioned, originally we were contacted, do you want to administer this? And we want to leave our options open. It doesn't mean we won't, but let's look at lending to those commercial property assessed clean energy projects as they come. And also CHIP. So we talked about that a lot today. We don't have to talk about that anymore. There was some discussion about going back and trying to make some tweaks to CHIP because there was some groaning about how they're going to administer this primary residence restriction. Like how would a developer who's out still be responsible years later if it's not a primary residence? And I don't know how that's going to end up. They decided not to take it back up, and it might be in rulemaking. It might be in next year. It might be when they see how this CHIP financing plays out. So that might be in the legislature again next year, but right now we're looking to see how we can finance projects. So that's it for this year. What are we doing in the future? We talked about that already too, but we're going to say it again. There's a 5 million aggregate cap for agricultural borrowers in now with the 16A. There's a 5 million cap for VEDA projects, 6 million for energy. There's a lot of the term limits, like we got rid of one of the big one in commercial, but there's still like no more than very detailed underwriting type things that why are they in the statute? And everybody asks like why? And I think it was because originally it was appropriation, and originally it was before we were trusted, like you were saying, Lindsay, but it's still delicate in the sense that it's not half our financing. I don't know how much comes from the moral of that we can borrow at a lower rate, but we hear back like, oh, you can't use the state's moral obligation and do X or do Y. So even though we'd like to do Sandy's dream, which is anything we want, as long as it's in policy. I think the idea is to get as far as we can. We've built up a lot of trust, and we've been in the legislature the last few years really. And all we get is, wow, VEDA does great things. Why don't you keep doing it? So we're going to chip away at that. And not just the limits, but it is a clutch. Like this thing is a Frankenstein. It's just like every year they added. That's why we're on U in the eligible projects, and why each one has these long lists of findings. And even if we can't get everything we want, we'd love to do some hacking and slashing. It's a technical term for paring it down a little bit and getting rid of some of the restrictive language, but also some of the complication between the sections. A lot of it's just like underwriting policy things that don't belong in the statute anymore, and we're trusted to be able to do that, especially when we're not doing all our work based on our appropriation from the state. So that's the future of what we want to go back. We'd like to be involved in CHIP or CPACE if anything comes back, but more we would love to have an avenue to change our statute and make it even cleaner after we finish figuring out how to roll back into VEDA and get all that done this year before the legislature starts again. So that's it for me. If anybody has any questions, it's not a cow, it's a typewriter, but it's
Something we haven't seen in a long time.
What? I can kind of feel it, you know. Right? What's a typewriter? Yeah. Does anybody, I know we already went over it a few times, so I doubt anybody has any questions, but I'm happy to answer any.
But back in the beginning, you talked about mortgage lenders. Does that include private mortgage lenders?
It says finance, it says, lenders, finance. Well, it's like a.
It says financial institution.
Financial. In, that's like the second slide. That one. Sorry, third. Financing lender, so it can be anybody. Yeah, but also in statute, this is kind of that Frankenstein effect under the general sections. It refers to like a
Recognized lender or something.
recognized or qualified, or there's something like that. We didn't use the same language here. It just says, financing lender. There's financial institution, I think. I think there's a little bit more room there, but I'll have to look. But there is a section that says recognize, or like, they're a little wiggly.
It's a little
Yeah.
odd.
It's
Yeah.
in terms of.
If we're considering the VC backed, and let's say we do like something mezzanine-ish, where there's a senior lender and that lender might be a private credit. Like, we would need to make sure that we're able to do that. Is that considered a recognized lender?
Right,
Like, recognized
Is there a different-
state, but
Is there different
Well,
there's no definition.
lenders?
yeah, I guess.
But then that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking we do that, Joan, under the entrepreneurial loan program, because that's a whole
That has
separate
different
subsection.
sections, right?
It's a whole separate subsection.
Doesn't necessarily even have match.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You can go direct.
It was,
It's the only lender.
that's right. It was set up for those not quite bankable.
Yeah.
Which is what this is.
Yeah. Right.
It's a good thing.
So a lot of cleanup is the.
I mean, this is
That's
what we
it.
had to do to get this in, and you see
Yeah.
subsection U, and it's got, and there's a lot of, it says, projects that are eligible for financing from both, because that's what we had in the assisted living facility, but then even that has some room, and portions or phases has room, and the financing lender has, I mean, it's a little squishy, but I think, it matches what we had, and it was based on negotiations,
I
and
think it gives us,
it gets us in the door
it gives us,
Yeah.
yeah, plenty, I think, to work.
to work with.
This
is a lot of really good work. I mean, this was. Yeah,
Right.
And I know it can be tedious, but the outcome is so important.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go into a bit of just recap of the day and some discussion, but I may not be the only one, so it'd be great if we just had someone help out with what are the
The plans for,
what are the plans for this evening and tomorrow, so that we know what the organizational stuff is. So we're gonna leave here, we're gonna go down up the mountain road.
we have to go up, how far is it?
Less than a mile.
Less than a mile to idle time. We'll have a separate room. We'll have cocktails at 5:30? 5:30 to 6:30, and then dinner at 6:30. So whenever time we
And in the morning,
adjourn, and in the morning, there'll be breakfast here at 7:30. And at 8:30, there's an ALCO meeting, a brief ALCO meeting. And then we'll start the board meeting at 9. Do I have that right?
does anyone have
Yes.
sort of organizational questions?
Oh, so how are we gonna
Housekeeping, there
get,
we
yeah,
go.
so how are we gonna get to dinner?
That's what I was gonna say.
Right, so who volunteered to drive?
There's at least.
Okay.
6
1, 2,
volunteers.
3, 4, 5, how many? So, we have 27 people coming to dinner? 24, okay. So we might need one more car, I'm happy for it to be mine, and we each fit about 4 people.
I can do 3 plus myself comfortably, 4 at a squeeze.
I'm
driving
because I'm not the driver, so, all right, so, and you could walk. Maybe I'm.
Maybe we need to.
Yeah, the place- You know how to get to the bike path, you can walk up. the bike path.
You need a team.
It is a little longer than a mile if you walk.
It's a lot longer.
Probably closer between a mile and a half and 2 miles if
It said
you
like
walk the
35
bike path.
minutes. But if you go on the road, it's 1 point.
Like I said, there's
On the road.
there's a
Don't
couple
walk
of
the road,
drivers.
walk the bike.
There are a couple of drivers, and we'll meet out by this awning. Whoever's driving, so you don't all have to drive, because I'm not even sure if there's enough parking at this place to accommodate everybody.
At what time will we meet?
About 5:15, is that good enough?
Yeah, right out front here by the awning.
Yeah.
Everyone here.
Say that again?
Well, we'll pull up cars at 5:15 at the awning and open doors. Feel free to.
Very good, very organized.
Excellent, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thinking about like a synchronized, flow.
Thank you.
Yeah.